I'm Lieutenant General Ben Hodges, Commander of NATO's Allied Land Command, headquartered in Izmir, Turkey. The Lisbon Summit, 28 nations agreed to create a new command structure which would be more affordable, which really means would have less overhead, less headquarters. So the alliance went from 12 headquarters to 7 and 13,000 to 8,000 in the NATO command structure. The result was one Allied Land Command responsible for the effectiveness and interoperability of all NATO land forces. 27 of the 28 nations in NATO have land forces, so our headquarters in Izmir is responsible for their effectiveness and interoperability. We do certification, evaluation of land forces, particularly those that are lined up to be the NATO response force. We are also the proponent for NATO's land forces. We work with the land forces of our partner nations such as Sweden, Finland, Ireland, Austria, Switzerland, even the Ukraine, and other countries that are routinely work with NATO, or maybe even are considering applying to join the alliance. That's who we work with. Finally, our headquarters also has a responsibility to be able to deploy as a land component command for what NATO calls a major joint operation. Multiple corps involved, ideally for an Article 5 type scenario where the sovereignty of a NATO member has been threatened. Secretary General Rasmussen's Connected Forces Initiative has direct application to what we do at Allied Land Command. In fact, we're trying to implement the Connected Forces Initiative across the alliance and with the partner nations in terms of training, education, and information sharing. One aspect of this is to literally connect training areas, simulation centers, training centers, national defense universities of all the alliance with the same communications network, so that units from the UK, Poland, Germany, the United States, Canada, Portugal, Turkey could all participate in a distributed exercise from their own home nation in their simulation center, or perhaps from their defense university, into an exercise that might be taking place at Bydgoszcz or Stavanger, the two NATO training centers. So that's one aspect of the Connected Forces Initiative that we're trying to implement, to operationalize, if you would. Now, that means also getting the centers of excellence that NATO has certified included in this Connected Forces Initiative as well. There are more than 20 centers across the alliance. Each one has a unique or niche specialty, such as counter-IED, human intelligence, military medical care, command and control, cybersecurity, and so on. And they're in all the different nations. So we're trying to connect them to the NATO forces and the NATO command structure, bring them into the training exercises to take advantage of what they offer. I think this is what the Secretary General had in mind when he talked about the Connected Forces Initiative. I'm very happy that the United States at Hohenfels and Grafenwehr with the Joint Maneuver Training Center is making itself more accessible to NATO as we look at life after ISAF, after Afghanistan, and the alliance returns to a contingency-based footing, if you will, or in contingency-based training. Getting the training center at Grafenwehr and Hohenfels into that NATO network, I think, is going to help the alliance a lot. It's a fantastic facility, and to see the United States emphasizing NATO standardization, NATO communications, and NATO training is a good thing for the alliance. Part of the alliance looking at life after Afghanistan means a transition from campaign footing, where each nation is generating combat power to go to a specified place in Afghanistan or in the Balkans. We're transitioning instead to a contingency footing, which means the alliance is ready to respond to threats all around the boundaries of the alliance, or perhaps going into other places that might eventually affect security of member states. SACEUR Supreme Allied Commander of Europe, General Breedlove, last year laid out his top priorities. His first priority was to get the transition right in Afghanistan. His second priority was to make that transition from campaign to a contingency footing. That has significant implications for training, which means you have to train for a variety of contingencies or requirements. But also it means that our communication systems and our NATO standards have to be well known and integrated into all that we do, so that when a contingency force is pulled together from NATO nations, it's ready to respond. The alliance created something called the NATO Response Force, the NRF, which is its primary contingency force. I believe that now, as we look at life after ISAF, after Afghanistan, the NRF is going to become more important. It's going to receive more attention, and I would anticipate, particularly in light of what Russia is doing has done in the Crimea and what is doing east of Ukraine, the NRF will take on even more importance. Part of the reaction of the alliance to Russia's aggression in Crimea and the potential threat it poses to the alliance is to implement what we call assurance measures to make sure that Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, the countries that are closest to the potential threat areas, are confident that the alliance will live up to its Article 5 obligation, and that the nations of the alliance will in fact respond to any potential Russian aggression against them. So that means a lot of upgrading and reviewing of existing contingency plans for those areas, or where necessary, development of contingency plans for those areas. And certainly you've seen recently a lot of exercises going on in those parts of Eastern Europe and up in the Baltics, and I would anticipate you'll see even more of that over the next many months.